Welcome to the Dental Handoff. I am Dr. Kelly Tanner, and I am your hostess for this episode of the Dental Handoff. And today I have with me, you guys know who she is, Kari Carter-Cherelus. And Kari, you are all over the place. You're on all social media, all the things. So I'm excited for people to learn about your journey.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And yes, I am all over the place, and I do love social media. I'm addicted.
Yeah. And you're balancing things with being a mom and being a business owner. So before we get into all that, tell us about why dental hygiene for you.
I've always loved teeth. So I was a weird kid, always walking around my house, brushing my teeth and experimenting on my teeth, brushing with mouthwashes and hydrogen peroxide and baking soda. Basically good stuff that didn't bother my mouth. It was all good stuff that is in some of our products. And initially I was going to become an environmental engineer. And when I changed that idea in high school, my mom suggested dental hygiene for me. I spoke to the hygienist I had, and she recommended I go to dental assisting since it was late in the semester to get my prerequisite, see if I liked it. And I just went from there, taking my prereqs to become a hygienist. So I've always liked helping people, and I like to run my mouth. And that seemed like a good combination with most hygienists.
I run your mouth. We educate.
We do, but we also like to make connections with patients. Yeah, honestly, that's why a lot of hygienists stay in offices they need to get out of at times. So I love making connections with people, which is what I do now. And I love talking. And so getting to know that patient gets them to do the treatment that they need by educating them in a roundabout way.
Yeah. To your point with what you just said, I find you're 100% right that a lot of people stay in the offices that probably aren't the right fit for them. They've done everything they can to try to resolve the issues that they're having with the office, but they stay for the patients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we love our patients. We love them to death. I mean, I still think about patients that I haven't seen in years. I saw at the beginning of my career, or God forbid, when a patient passes away, it cuts us deeply, because we've been seeing that patient every 3 months, every 6 months for years. We've seen all their family, their kids grow up, and everything like that. So at times we are very territorial with our patients. We call them our patients, even though they belong to the practice, because they're our people. They chose to see us as their hygienists. We built these connections. We cry with them. We laugh with them, everything. We teach them, we educate them, but we build these connections with them as well. And so that's what I still get to do now, having a diverse career. I still build connections with colleagues, and I still get to help patients in different ways.
So you went and earned some prerequisite courses as a dental assistant first, is what I heard you say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you did that, went on to be a clinical hygienist. How long were you there, and then where are you now? Like what was your progress, and how'd you grow up?
So I've been in the dental industry for 24 years total, I believe. Starting off as a dental assistant, I did my prerequisites throughout that time, night classes, online classes. It was very difficult, but I did it. I got into hygiene school, graduated. Thankfully, we know hygiene school is scary. It's hard. It's so many different requirements. And I've been a clinical hygienist for 19 years. So even though I don't practice full time like I used to, every once in a while I temp for different offices. Now I do a lot in that I am a public speaker. So I do give continuing education courses, or courses for organizations or for offices, or however people see fit to have me speak for their audiences. I also wrote the book, The Ultimate Guide for Dental Hygiene Burnout, because that's my main thing I talk about. I talk about a lot of different things, but I did end up with burnout in my career, which a lot of people end up with. And I also am a professional product educator for Arm & Hammer TheraBreath and Ivoclar. So I get to talk to offices, schools, organizations about their products, write, consult, I don't know. I do a lot. I do a lot. And so now my upcoming course is about mommy burnout, because I love all that I do. But recognizing that sometimes even when we like what we do, we still can burn ourselves out because of wearing so many hats at one time.
Amen. Yes, we can. And yes, that's a whole other topic, right? Like literally you've written a course on it.
Yeah.
So here's always the question, and questions I get from hygienists all over the world. every day about, Kelly, how did you go from this to this? So, Kari, how did you go from clinical hygienist into, because you have your own business now? What was that transition? And then what advice would you give to folks who want to dip their toe into the speaking world or start somewhere with that?
I went from clinical hygiene to all I do mainly because of getting consulting, so investing in myself, getting help. I worked with Jasmine Haley. Initially started with the pandemic, so everything was shut down. I always say a lot of us had time to really think about our lives. I've always been a public speaker. I won awards in high school. I just transitioned that into basically speaking to my patients. Um, Instead of like professional speaking, like what I do now, but basically working with a consultant, getting help, working with a coach or someone, surrounding yourself with people who do what you're interested in doing. So many of the people I follow on Facebook do the same thing or inspire me to do better or to keep doing more. Investing in myself as a dental hygienist, I invested in myself as far as I purchased my own instruments, my own
Mm,
Cavitron, my own chair, my own loops and things. I was tired of waiting or having that conversation with dentists regarding getting my things or making sure they provide for me. And although I believe the office should, I also think that we need to invest in ourselves in our career. And so to take my career to another level, I had to invest in myself and get coaching and belonging to different organizations like Dental Entrepreneuring Women, learning from those different women as far as being an entrepreneur and different things. So I would encourage hygienists to invest in themselves. And that may be going to conferences. That's something I didn't do. Honestly, I could just get CE credits online like many of us do. Everyone's
right.
always asking for free CE, and free CE is great. I love free stuff, but at the same time, sometimes you got to pay to play and to learn more and to really get passionate about subjects. So going to conferences is good. If you can't go to the big ones, at least try to get to the ones in your own state or your local area, or support your local community and get to know people. And that really expands your opportunities and networking and things. So I didn't do all those things initially throughout my career. And then I got burnt out and I was complaining. But when I started that consulting process and then I started getting networking with different colleagues and going to different conferences because all these opportunities open up to me, then more opportunities keep opening up to me. Like, next week I have an amazing opportunity where I'm going to be a model for a uniform company. I'm 5'2", and I haven't lost all my baby weight and everything. And so I didn't really think that that would ever open up for me, but I was contacted to do the thing and I said yes. So also saying yes to opportunities, even though you don't know how it's going to work out or how you're going to look or you're afraid of feeling or looking stupid, just saying yes and learning from it. You never know what builds upon that.
Yeah. So it sounds like if you had advice to give too, it would be looking back and giving advice to your, to your previous self in previous years. Get involved, go out and go to other CE, get your network, your support system set up
Hmm.
around you, because I find that was probably like the pivotal moment for me too in my profession, where I think right out of hygiene school, I didn't continue my student membership into ADHA.
Hmm.
Then I got back into ADHA and I dipped my toe in the water to go to like a local meeting. And I was like, these people are as crazy as I am. This is great. And I got hooked.
Yeah, same thing. I stopped my membership for ADHA once that ran out. I was like, oh, I'll do it. I'll do it. I always felt bad that I wasn't doing it. And then I honestly did it when I got accepted to speak. And I'm like, I'm not supporting an organization that's supporting me in my endeavor to speak for them. And so since then, I've been a member. I spoke for them recently on mental wellness in May. I think it was May and everything. So really, you have to be involved. It's easy for us to complain about not having the things we want or not getting different opportunities, but what are you doing? How are you helping others? So I always share other people's information. If I see a great job that even recently, maybe I can apply for because there's a big conflict of interest with one of the companies I work for, I share with my colleagues who I know will be great for or who are
Mhm.
moms themselves and everything. So are you speaking names in rooms that people aren't privy to. So I speak people's names all the time.
Mhm.
And so I think that really helps me as well, because people know that I have their back. So they also have my back. And just getting out there, like you said. So what is it that you want to do? Write it down and then find a plan how to get there. There's so many people out there who can help us. And I think the thing is now, and like when I first started in dental hygiene, having social media is so helpful because there's so many different avenues
Yeah.
to networking with people, even if you're not seeing them in person. We're able to have this conversation right now in different states. And so you're able to get the information that you need and build upon that to get where you need to go. So basically, there's tons of different groups and people who can help you. One of the things I'm a part of is RDH Connect. So you
Mhm.
asked about how do you get become a speaker. We have different mentorship groups in there that can help
Oh,
people
cool.
become a writer or can become a speaker. And there's so many different organizations that help with that. And then RDH Under One Roof, they just closed their speaker abstract, but I think ADHA is coming up. So just get in touch with different people who can help you on that process. Because I mean, I was definitely green and I continue to learn and try to perfect my craft, but I continue to get information from others who are speakers as well.
And I think the great thing too, to add on to what you just said, with social media and the different groups they're in, we can kind of take pieces here, 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 and inform where we are at in our lives. So it's not, if you tell me something, it's not that I'm going to I don't have to emulate and fit exactly into what Kari's doing. I can take that and say, okay, this is meaningful to me because, and then I'll learn something over here and say, oh, okay, that means something. So being a part of these groups, and I love that you're bringing up these names so people can go and visit them too, that could support them, because it's all about empowering the we. Because I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like when I'm helping other people, for me to be outward, it then fills me up so much that it's like karma, right? It'll come back. But for me, I'm always going to put somebody's name in a room. I'll be like,
Mhm.
have you talked to this person? But that is the power of networking and showing people who you are and how you
Mhm.
show up and what you're into and how you get that support, because you're making your path public and you're saying, I've done this. So just like in Kari, you recently joined my Facebook group. You shared about your uniform experience. Perhaps someone would chime in and say, hey, Kari, I did this one time. Probably something to think about is to do your hair this way or to show your
Mhm.
earrings. I don't know what people are going to say, but who have experience in doing that, to say, oh, you got this. Be sure to pivot on this toe when you do your catwalk.
No, exactly. Like I reached out to a friend who she's a photographer and does makeup and hair. And she was the one who did my maternity pictures. A friend had gifted me that session with her. So I reached out to her and she's been bombarding me with, Pinterest boards and TikToks of like how to pose, how to pivot, how to do all these different things, because I watched America Top Model and everything like that, but I don't know. Anything. And I don't want to be on set and bothering these people. Like, why do we pick her? You do deal with imposter syndrome. It doesn't matter if you do all these things, you still feel a little shy, or you don't want to like not measure up and everything. So it's important to seek assistance from people who know more than you, so that you can feel confident in your different endeavors. And feedback's always good, but it's good to initially, prepare and to seek help from others.
Yeah, but you got to do it in order to learn from it.
Yes, of course.
you know and that is what I think what I have found year after year, is that we get so frozen that we're not perfect enough to do
Mhm.
what we need to do. And all you have to do is take small tiny steps toward what you want every single day, that 1% difference in what it is, because at the end of the year you're 30, almost 37% better and towards your goal.
And we hold ourselves back. I know that sometimes myself personally, sometimes things can feel like too much. Like I may feel like, oh, I'm doing too much, or I don't know what I'm doing and everything. Like just started my podcast and everything. Cause initially I was going to have a podcast with some of my other colleagues, and some of us started our own podcast, cause we were all at a different time. And so I just said, well, let me just do it. And I don't really know what I'm doing in it, but I'm doing it. And that's with most of us. Sometimes we hold ourselves back because we're waiting for perfection, and hygienists tend to be detail oriented and perfection. We either do it all or we do none of it. And so just doing it, and then you make it better each year, each season, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So tell us about your podcast.
It's called Burnout Bites. And so basically, I talk to different colleagues, different people about how they avoid burnout or, how they got into the career that they're in. I have one upcoming. I'm supposed to interview a recovery center. And we know that a lot of colleagues, unfortunately, they deal with their burnout or overwhelm with, going, choosing other things instead of maybe therapy. They may overindulge in alcohol or medicines or drugs and things like that. I overindulge in social media, but so it's a recovery center, and they're going to talk about different things that we can do. But with the podcast, I basically try to end positively and make sure that we have something that we can work towards. So, because burnout is pretty negative to think about it, we don't always like to think about it. It can be depressing. So we talk about the issues because that's relatable to the audience, and then we talk about solutions, which is important. We don't want to always have problems and don't have the solutions. So I really love the podcast, and it's only about 30 minutes.
That's awesome. And you guys can follow her podcast in the show notes too. So thank you for sharing that. And it's important work because, in thinking of this, Kari, I'm thinking too that all of us have to reach a point, whether we're dating or whether we're finding jobs or finding our place where we want to work, we have to know what we don't want to know what we do want. We have to have that and to seek what it is that we want in that shadow of where we are at that time, in that dimmer area, to say, okay, what do I need to learn from this? And what do I need to learn about myself in this to seek something different? Is it me? Is it something that I need to take action on and talk to the employer about something that I think that the office can benefit from? And then that employer, a lot of times what I found, not always, is open to hearing what it is that we have to say. Like, I've never thought of that. Thank you so much for bringing that up. So it gives an opportunity to elevate again.
Right. A lot of us are afraid to have those hard conversations, be it with ourselves or with our employers at times. We can be very fearful. And so it is so important to communicate with our employers to give them the chance maybe to make changes that could help us and help the office and help our patients. And then also, like we talked about earlier, networking, being involved in these different social media groups can be helpful because I just thought it was me all the time. Like, is it me? Is it I keep going to these offices and I have these crazy situations. And then I learned that no, it's not necessarily me. Sometimes I should have advocated for myself better or
Yes.
communicated better. But at the same time, I had chosen offices that weren't always aligned with my principles, maybe because I felt desperate to get a job to pay my bills. And so now having these different forums allows new grads, especially, to see like, hey, this is going on in my office. I'm seeing 50 patients a day and they say I'm horrible. Is it me? And we can be like, no, girl, you're seeing too
Right.
many patients a day. Or, why did you choose this job? So we can kind of help others with finding something better, or at least
Yeah.
telling them to go talk to the employer. Not, we shouldn't always just say quit, quit, quit. People do that all the time. You
Right.
don't know someone's
Yeah.
circumstances, but at least encourage people to advocate for themselves or figure out why they chose this job or why they're staying.
Exactly. I love that you said that. Also, too, with that, you learn how to interview differently. You start to interview the office differently. So maybe I think a lot of times in life, it's about asking different questions, better questions of ourselves, of other people, of employers, and life to answer a larger problem. So it creates the understanding that we need in our lives and other people's lives. But I feel like if we never ask the question to other people to bring up so like, let's just say, I know that you and I could talk about this forever, but let's just say that I'm in an office and I don't like it. If I never go to that employer or never talk to somebody about what's bothering me, they never learn.
Hmm.
They never learn. They never learn about my perspective. It's not learn their lesson, but learn about my perspective or another person's perspective that maybe they had just never thought. It's a blind spot for them,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's basically, if we never tell, and that happened at my last office, and they were actually wonderful. But because I was so accustomed to having all my own equipment, when it was time for me to go, I told my manager, who was actually a friend of mine, I'm like, you're gonna have to get some stuff for the office for the hygienist coming in here. She's like, well, I know we didn't have a lot of stuff, but what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, there's no good stuff. And she's like, well, why didn't you say something? And I was like, I kept putting it on the order form and the assistant kept taking it off. So I guess I assumed that you guys were too cheap to order it and everything. And she's like, well, not all at once, but so it's making sure you go to the right person. So the
Yeah.
person that was taking it off didn't have the same principles or didn't care about my department. However, if I had went to her, then she would have made it possible to at least order 2 packs of instruments a month to get the office where they needed to be. So we can't assume that people are mind readers. We have to have those conversations with them. And so we shouldn't always
100%.
just take everything upon ourselves as well.
Exactly. I love that you said, I just love this so much. So, Kari, thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. This time always just like breezes by, and these podcasts. I look forward to seeing you out and in the Facebook group and on all the other things that you're contributing to. So you guys, if you want to know more about what Kari's doing, look at the show notes, contact her, visit her podcast for sure. And then I know that you're speaking at quite a few events coming up, Kari. I think that they're probably listed on your site or on social media too. So you guys follow her. You're amazing. Thank you for all the work that you're doing for humans to elevate our profession, to help our patients.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Okay. You guys know what to do. What I always ask every week, go onto Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating, please, because Apple's the one that matters. Go on over to YouTube, like, subscribe, and share so it can recommend to other people things that they love, which is obviously the Dental Handoff. Thanks, everybody. Take care, and we will see you next week. Be well.